This is the 19th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, X-Zone Lures, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, Spro, Gamakatsu, Big Bite Baits, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. If you missed yesterday's show, well worth going back and taking a gander. It's a two-part show. Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank towed his Bass Cat down to my neck of the woods, and we got out on the water for half an hour, and he went into a kind of a manifesto on side imaging and really dug into the unit, his Garmin unit, but also applicable for side imaging on Lowrance Hummingbird. But just some really cool stuff that we got on the water. And then cloud to ground lightning put an abrupt halt to that on the water experience, which we then transitioned back to the studio where he really dove into one of the listeners asked a question about interference, which I think interference with your trolling motor. I think all of us at some point in time, if you're a boat owner, have dealt with that. And he kind of went through exactly what that was, really, really in depth. So if you're looking for like a point and click, not it. If you're looking for a 20-minute explanation on it, well, then that show is for you. They're catching them in the BPT on Lake St. Clair. Ott Defo, who we had on last week, entered the event as the BPT Angler of the Year leader. He had 3 second-place finishes, I believe, in the Elite Series, and he's had a runner-up finish, and the guys aren't going to make it easy on him. He ended up finishing 60th in the event, 30th in his group, so then when you take the other group, 60 out of 80, that's a bottom two-thirds finish. The guys that were, right behind him, most notably Jacob Wheeler, Jordan Lee, those type of guys, they're catching them. 20 pounds already early in the morning, and kind of what we expected out of Lake St. Clair. Not as many giant bags, but I think the weather had a lot to do with that. So one of the guys who's really good at catching smallmouth, he's from the West Coast, but there's a handful of guys who can look at the schedule and say, I should be good for 30 to 50 grand and a lot of Angler of the Year points over the next month. That would be none other than the Golden Ram, Cliff Pirch. And he joins me now are you still in Payson?
Yep.
Payson, Arizona. He joins us there. Thanks for joining us. And it's hard not to smile when you look at the schedule. It's July, and you know that the next 2 months are wheelhouse events, right, Cliff?
Well, I never want to say that because those smallmouth, man, they can really burn you. I've had a lot of good smallmouth events, but, every now and then they swim off and make you look like a fool. So, I don't want to get excited too early, but I am looking forward to good fishing and hopefully have some big events.
I've talked to go ahead.
I've had a decent season, kind of staying consistent and doing well, but so I feel good about, my fishing in general, but I never count on those smallmouth too good. Cause it's just, there's so many factors out there. You drive all the way out and they're not there. And pretty soon you're like, uh-oh, I got to find where they went. And, there's a lot of factors in those northern events. So I'm excited, but I never get overly confident on how that's going to turn out.
What makes a good smallmouth angler, though? I was going to say, I talked to Justin Lucas. I've talked to Josh Bertrand about this. You always have the guys who grew up there, the Johnston brothers. You see certain guys that just seem to always catch them up there. In your mind, are there a couple, I guess to say, core values that all good northern smallmouth anglers share?
Well, originally it's because we all knew about drop shotting, but now everybody knows everything. So, it kind of levels the field a little bit. I don't know. I think there's a little bit to do with the having a lot of good finesse fishing experience, spinning rod techniques, and obviously the drop shot originally. When I used to lick my chops when I was going up there because it really wasn't, wide open when I first started going, maybe almost 20 years ago now. So, um, you know, that I guess maybe the spinning rod and the finesse factor.
Do you remember the first time you fished a drop shot or became really proficient with a drop shot? Because I mean, I'm not saying I don't think you're old enough to be there when it originated, were you?
Well, I was pretty close, pretty close. Yeah. I know Brett and Aaron were on the very very forefront of it out here, and I was fishing team tournaments at that time. I was you know it was early
Like
on.
what year? What ballpark year are we talking about? Like
I'm gonna say,
90s?
yeah, I'm gonna say maybe 97, 98. Yes, maybe 97ish.
All
uh,
right. And you had heard about it. You had to have heard. Who'd you hear about it from? Someone in particular, or from a magazine, or?
just I think just fishing with Western guys. Yeah, I don't know if it was just kind of rubbing shoulders with guys out here, or just I can't really remember how that came about. I
Mhm.
remember using it at Lake Pleasant. Lake Pleasant is like looks like a glass of water, and in your kitchen, it's clear all the way to the bottom. So it was a good technique to begin with, starting out here. And I can't remember what brought it about. I can't remember who I saw that from, but I think probably uh, Coda,
Mhm.
uh, Brett, Aaron, and yeah, that's probably where I learned it.
Because there's no social media, obviously, no
No, no,
Facebook, nothing. Like, I mean, that's something that you could keep under your hat for a while. So I'm assuming that it grew slowly. Not, I mean, it seems to me now. We'll take what Wheeler did with the hover rig or whatever you want to call it. I mean, dude, you have something, and 6 days later, it's sold out everywhere and everybody's trying it. But back in the 90s, when something like the drop shot came, I mean, were you guys able to have a core little group? You kind of show up at the boat ramp and wink at each other because that you got one leg up, and as long as no one spills the beans, you're golden for the foreseeable future.
yeah, everything was like that. I mean, literally everything was like that. There was every technique that that came about, and just even just the tricks of like, okay, you can do good in May doing this, but if you want to win, you do that. And there was just things that everybody couldn't know, and you could have some secrets. We won a lot of tournaments, team tournaments here. I remember just it would be tough in January, and we just smoke them on like Apache Lake here, catch big bags, drop shotting, and you know there might have been two, three people doing it or something, but it would just look like you're in a different tournament. I mean, it similar to Alabama rig, you know,
Mm-hmm.
come out. It's just it changed a lot of things.
Now it seems like every single person throws it. I mean, you got Matt Herron out there. I mean, I still don't know if I've ever seen Biffle throw it, but I mean, you got everybody out there throwing it. It's amazing how, and I've noticed this in the opens too, especially over the last 3 or 4 years with the drop shot rig. It's amazing how many guys are throwing it now. And I'm wondering if the fish are going to, I think they are already starting to become conditioned to that in non-traditional ways that they weren't 4 or 5 years ago, just because of the volume of them that they're seeing.
Yeah, yes and no, because I thought the same thing out here. Obviously it went crazy out
Mm-hmm.
west, and for a long time I was like, man, it's got to be enough. But really, it doesn't. It never seemed to change anything. Not that it didn't get a little tougher, where it was just dumb to begin with, but it never just went away, and it's always a factor in something, because it's really more of a technique. It's putting a bait in a strike zone a different way. It stays there. It doesn't leave the strike zone. It just does something different. A crankbait has to leave the strike zone. Chatterbait has to leave the strike zone. A jig has to move in order to impart action. Well, a drop shot doesn't have to do that. So it's a technique that will never be obsolete just because of how it works, you know. But I mean, yeah, if you got a new little trick on the end of it, might help.
Are there drop shot tricks out there? Has it changed much over the past 25 years, or is it, in all intensive purposes, the same dang thing? Because you see all sorts of stuff change, but I feel like a drop shot's kind of a drop shot. Or am I way off base on that?
Well, I think there's things that get overlooked, and there's things that haven't been, you know, overplayed. There, you know, take the Sensation soft plastics. You know,
Yeah.
that adds kind of a new twist. It's a new scent. It's not something every one of them is, you know, experienced yet. You know, things like that. They help. Um, but yeah, I just don't see it going away. I don't see it going away. It's not like, you know, when it began and you just drop it in front of one and that they're like, oh, everything eats it. But it's a technique that's just too solid to change.
Are you a forward facing sonar guy with it yet? Is that something that you've been on the train with or getting on the train with?
Yeah, I've been doing that quite a while. You know, Lowrance has really good equipment now with the active target, but it was a little bit late on the front end getting the, you know, the what they have now is as good as anything out there. And before, I think we were a little bit behind, you know, maybe 5 years ago or so. So yeah, I definitely use it. Everyone's got to use it pretty much. You can't not use it. And a drop shot is one of those perfect tools for it. You know, it's obviously we see things play. There's a number of things that are more regular with that forward facing. You know, your jerk bait's always a factor. The drop shot is really fits in that area because of, you know, how it works. If a fish is on the bottom or near the bottom, you know, you can put that bait in front of the fish and it's a real precise type of presentation. So definitely a really good matchup for the forward facing sonar.
Clay is our resident skeptic and historian, but he is saying that Elephant Butte, which I'm like a 12-year-old every time I see the name of that lake, Elephant Butte Open was won on TV with it. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, who won Elephant Butte? Skeet?
I
know Skeet did good. Buddy of mine, Kyle did good.
Have you fished that?
No, it was like right.
No, have you ever fished that lake?
No, and it's hardly got any water now. I've been watching it. I looked this year. I thought they might have done better, and it's doing better because the Southwest did really good and the West did really good on snowpack and stuff. But it's not had water for a long time.
Here's 1998.
Yeah, that was like maybe it was a couple years before I started fishing more regional and traveling. So
look at that. There it is.
Probably Byron. Oh, that looks like Steve. Is that Steve Molinari? Who is that? No, that's somebody else.
I don't know. It's on TNN Outdoors. Look, there's the desert. Look, you got the grainy footage going. Look at this. 14-inch size limit, 5 bass. There's Mike Worm. There's a good name.
Huh. Yeah, I remember him.
He's throwing. Oh, there's a spinning rod right there. Is that a drop shot? Is that a drop shot fish? It might be.
Yeah.
High five. You don't see too many guys in the back of the boat. Who was that in the back? Was that Let's see if we can figure out. There's Bob Cobb talking about the jerk bait.
And they had a pointer 78 already there.
Yeah. Is there oh, there it is right there. How about that?
Yeah.
There's Dennis Roy.
That little tiny G-lock hook or something. That's what we used.
That was when I remember the G-lock hook when it came out. It was one of the only hooks that fit a Madman Money Ham craw.
Oh, yeah.
And look, he's putting
he's got
what is that?
I don't know, eco, maybe like a.
And this is probably the first time it was really exposed on TV.
Yeah. Yeah, but
that's 25 years ago, but it's been used for a lot longer. Look at that. There you go. That's a power shot, it looks like. Look, they're explaining the drop shot. Bell sinker, 1/4 ounce. The Bambino worm.
Huh. Yeah, that's.
Huh. I gotta give myself credit on that one. I literally just Googled that up in about 30 seconds.
I remember the tournament, but I don't remember. I wasn't in it. I remember, the guys that I watched were in it. But that's earlier than I remember.
Are you a guy
in public?
So will you go to all these smallmouth fisheries and just be like, I'm going to drop shot on all 3 of these? It doesn't matter. I don't care what the other patterns are. I'm just going to drop shot. Or are you going to sample on these next 3 fisheries? Are you going to sample all sorts of different techniques? Because I'm always curious how the smallmouth guys, it seems like there's, 1 or 2 things. You got the hair jig, the spy bait, a chatterbait, a swim bait, a top water. So it just depends on it. But that drop shot is always a staple. Are you a guy who deviates, or they eat it, you're just going to find them with that?
I use that mostly all the time, but there's a lot of times I mix the Ned rig in. We've got the new ram head from Big Bite Baits, and I mix the Ned rig in a lot and a hair jig in some. I had a couple pretty good days up there with a hair jig before, and so I'll mix some of those other things in. But the drop shot it never leaves the game.
How many spinning rod and reel setups does a guy need to be successful if he's going to go up north? This is a serious question, because the first time I've been up, I'm a spinning rod guy, right? And I think the first time I was up there, I had 2. Then I hung out with Travis Manson, Smallmouth Crush. The man has 18 identical spinning rod and reel setups every time he hits the water on the Great Lakes. And he's like, you're a maniac for going out there with 2 or 3. I mean, piles of spinning rods on either side of the deck. What is your ideal number?
I mean, the first time I went out on Lake Erie, I had 2 drop shots. That's all I owned. And I have only got about 5 or 6 spinning reels currently. And so that's got me beat. But, you can't have 100 of them out there, but it definitely helps to have multiples. Like if the wind's blowing, you got rough water, you got to re-rig, you catch a smallmouth and everything's in a mess, and you're looking at them on your electronics, or you just watch them follow your fish up that you caught. You better have 2 or 3 more ready to, drop down there, because it might be a time race to get 3, 4, 5 bites before it's all over, or they're gone.
All right, a couple more smallmouth questions, and then we'll move on, just because that's what everyone's doing. Why do they eat the dumbest looking stuff? Like, you look at the Somali, obviously the flatworm. The guys back in the day would take a tube and cut it in half. Like, there's nothing wiggly. There's nothing exciting about it. It's all just drab, horrible looking baits that are magic, apparently. What's up with that?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's some guys say it's the goby doesn't have a lot of action, but it's really not even that, because it happens places that don't have gobies. It's Coda used to say it's moving water. It's forcing that water to move, pushing water with your bait, a little bit more. It's not like a curly tail.
Okay, yeah, because it started out with the Bass Patrol that kind of turned into the crosstail shad. Remember the Jackal crosstail shad that was big? And then it's that style, flat style body bait, hand pour look to it. They're all very similar.
Yeah. And we used to use a lot of little reapers and stuff before that Lake Police stuff. And obviously hand pour worms. We used to use a ton of homemade hand pours out here, and that was prior to Robo Worm. Then Robo Worm got really big. Obviously, they kind of figured out how to how to make some colors, and then keep that the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got the Sensation cliffhanger. I'm pretty excited about that. It's got a little bit more uh, body in the head. Keep your hook pinned. Super soft. Obviously, got the Sensation smell. That's what we were looking for going up north, and it's got a little more width in the tail where it pushes a little bit more water. And like I said, Coda always talked about making the water push. Having something that pushed the water.
So is that why that flat, kind of bigger paddle that actually moves it instead of something that's just very subtle seems to work on that drop shot because it's undulating?
Yeah, I guess, like I said, I don't know all the answers on something like that. There's just certain things that smallmouth do, and
it works, and you don't ask why.
It works, yeah. And they sometimes they eat little bitty things. Little bitty. We're talking. You look at a jig, and a jig is really a pretty big size. Kind of a standard jig. Really a pretty big crawdad for a smallmouth to eat. If you look what they really eat, they eat little ones, little. And when I was a kid, we fished a lot of live bait, live crawdads, and the big crawdads that you had in your bucket were the last ones you used because it took the longest to get bit on them. The little ones caught fish right away, and so that was the last one in the bucket. And you just kind of learn that those fish are really key on those little bitty baits.
Is that a safety thing, you think? The bigger ones have the pinchers, the claws that can get stuck in the gills, that can be more dangerous to them, that are harder to tangle with. So if you have something tiny, that looks like a Ned that doesn't have big rah, that's how they breathe. They're like, okay, I can eat this without any issues.
Yeah, could be. And just, it could be just comfort and what, you know what I mean? Like,
okay,
you want to eat a something that's been fried rock hard, or you want something that just is you can just kind of crush it up in your mouth nice and easy. I think there's something to that. A big crawdad usually, unless they're molting and have a soft shell, they're definitely there's a lot more hardness to crush and deal with. So those tiny ones, they just mash up, so that's probably got a lot to do with it.
I got to ask you about this because you're a West Coast guy, a finesse guy. Have you messed around with the dice rubber yet?
No.
I just threw it up there. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, dude, you have been in tournaments where you got your butt kicked by that.
I saw that in that, how do you say his name? Hey.
Hey. No, if dogs make an appearance, they have to be on BTL. That's a rule.
Oh, we got one getting really chewed out by the.
Oh, he looks like he's been around a minute.
Yeah, he's really old.
What's his name?
That's Jackson.
Jackson.
There's a new cat, little bitty one.
Oh.
And pretty tough. You got to be pretty tough to make it very long here. So something will get eaten by.
Oh yeah, there's a cat.
There's
You're a cat. Was that by choice or did it just show up?
Well, yeah. Yeah. It's good to have a couple around or one around to keep any mice from getting in your junk. It sure doesn't hurt, but there's a lot of things that'll eat them here. So,
you're talking about Koya Fujita.
Yeah.
Koya.
I didn't know how to say it.
Have you talked to him yet?
I have said hi. He doesn't.
No.
He doesn't talk much, or doesn't. He didn't seem that interested in.
You got to get him around Sego. Get Sego there with him and get some chatting going on. He was throwing at Oneida in the Open last year. He caught a 20-pound bag on 1, 2, 3 pound test out on Shackleton.
Yeah.
And the next day didn't have a big bag, but lost multiple 5-pounders, but 3, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then he did that deal with the shell hooked rubber crab in one of the events this year that he top 20 did. He did the dice rubber in one of them. It's wild.
Yeah, it's definitely some weird stuff. And, we've always seen that, in that Japanese market, there's always some things coming out here, and some of them are a little bit gimmicky. You know what I mean? So there's
like
things
those don't even look gimmicky. They don't even look like an option.
Yeah, well, and that's why some of them just get overlooked, because there's a lot of things. Sometimes things can get overcomplicated, and so you kind of dismiss a few things like, oh, we gotta have this new this or new that. But that one is definitely a head scratcher. There's nobody that didn't scratch their head when they saw that. I'm like,
and you didn't run out and buy a bunch and try to figure it out?
I don't own one. I'm gonna admit I don't own one, but I did walk by his boat. Like, I think we were parked next to each other at an event where he was doing good and I was doing good, and somehow we were next to each other, and I saw that thing. Like, what on earth is that?
I wonder that's got to be how the guys thought when they first walked by and had never seen a drop shot before. Do you know that there had to be conversations of old school flippers that were like, dude, you see what those weird West Coast guys had tied on? The damn weight is below the bait, and then the bait's on the line.
Yeah. I'm sure there was some of that. But I mean, that's not near as crazy as a rubber dice with bristles sticking out of it.
Dice rubber.
I don't know if that's just a microbiology.
Because you design baits too. I mean, you designed a lot of the sensation line. You got the ram tail, the jig trailer. We talked about the cliffhanger worm. I mean, you spent a lot of time. We did the show last year where we talked about, you had a dude who poured plastics for you and back and forth and did a bunch. So, I mean, you kind of know that realm of bait design.
Yeah, but I can't say that I've designed any cube chunks that look like a piece of cut meat. Like, listen, a steak that you're gonna eat.
So think about it right now. You've got that. It's after a dice, and then the most popular shape ever, ballpoint pen. You need to just start taking random things from around the house.
Yeah, I know. I'm like that. Maybe.
Oh, and then that next one is a dog turd.
Nails and screws and. I don't know.
You just make a random, a spoon.
Things laying on. Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I was looking at your profile, and obviously, we've done the show before where we talk about the mountain lions and getting stalked and all that stuff, which is great fun. Go back and listen to those previous shows. But on your profile, and I don't know how this has escaped me over the years, you jumped out of helicopters to fight fires?
Yeah, it's a good college job. A lot of fun. It's,
okay.
About 5 or maybe 6 or 7 summers during, my early 20s, late teens, early 20s.
6 or 7 years? I slid lumber at Menards. You're jumping out of helicopters. We'll talk about that after we come back from a break. It's Wednesday, June 28th, BTL with the Golden Ram Cliff Pirch. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top on Strike King.
So I'm a big guy, a lunker, a 2 sandwich eating kind of man. And on behalf enough of all of those bigger, I gotta say it once and for all, it's bad enough that the fish look smaller in our hands. The last thing we should have to worry about is getting quality outdoor clothing that fits. AVCO, any fish, any water.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
The great thing about the new Sensation soft plastics from Big Bite Baits, heavily scented, super soft, buoyant, comes in 7 great new shapes. I've got a couple of them of my signature series, the cliffhanger worm and the ramtail craw. Great for a flipping jig, football jig, swim jig, all that. Several other great shapes. Really excited about it. We've worked over the last year, catches fish all over the country, and I think it's going to catch fish for people everywhere you try it.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Wednesday. Cliff Pirch. Hey, you're in a little ad there. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Hey, I do want to mention before we get back into it. My full intention was to get. We had some from a different show, some winners of. There's some X-Zone soft plastics, a reel, Shad. Anyway, I'm horrible, Cliff, about like mailing stuff out. Jeffries is horrible about what he mails out. Like he once sent a contest winner a used 2XL sweatshirt from a high school that he no longer even coached at. And the guy was like, "Oh, thank you." I boxed him up. I went to the post office and I went on June 19th, which I forgot was a national holiday. And then they've been in my truck since then. So as soon as the show's over, I'm headed back to the post office now and I'll get those out in the mail for this week. So that's what we got going on there. All right. Profile. When Clifford was in college, he earned extra money by acting as a helitack firefighter.
Yeah.
How does one get into that?
Well, you know, wildland firefighting, it's just a good job for a college age kid, you know, and
no. How do you go, hey, I want to, like, are you a fire? How does you even get involved in that?
Well, I had friends that had done it all, you know, growing up that I knew, you know, older kids, and it's just something around here that a lot of people, you know, just worked on wildland fire crews. And, you know, I got on a different crew, and then a spot opened up that first season. Somebody quit or somebody left the helitack crew, and some buddies of mine, good friends that I'd wrestled with and played sports with and fished with and hunted with, were already on the crew, and they're like, "Hey, we know somebody." And so I got on there, you know, my first season, and, you know, that's it's a fun one. You know, we would, it's an initial attack crew. So you got to go when stuff was exciting, you know, when the fire started, you'd put out the exciting stuff, and a lot of times we'd leave and someone else would clean up the mess. So it was kind of fun, and there was a little saying, and we got in trouble for it. There was a little sign, one of them hung on the back of the buggies. You got like a chase rig, that obviously ground support goes around, and they made a sign that says, "We stop them, you mop them." The other, that didn't go over well with some of the other crews, but that's how it was. You get to go where the lightning strike is at, or wherever the parts. You put out you run around, the adrenaline part, put out the, what you can, and then you finish digging line and mop up the fire, throughout the whole process.
So would you jump out with like a rope, or would they like drop you off on the ground?
Well, if there was an opening to land in, we would just land, on a mountain somewhere or in a meadow somewhere. But most places, there's not a wide enough opening for a helicopter to just, land and do that. So we rappelled out of it. There was, you had a rope, like a 1/2-inch rope, and you had a 1/2-inch rope, and it was 250 feet long. So you could rappel up to like 250 feet. Most of the time,
that's 25 stories, isn't it?
Yeah. Most of the time it was, you'd rappel like 150 or something, but occasionally
just holding onto the rope. You don't have any other safety attached to you.
No, it was that, you've got a harness, and, you hook into, you wrap it around the rope, and you hold it, like a little can, and you go down, you manage, holding the rope below you to kind of manage your speed and stuff. But definitely one of the most exciting, fun jobs for a 20-something-year-old that you could do. What's cooler than going to an initial attack wildfire by helicopter, if that's not cool enough? We'd fly with the doors off back then. They'd let us just fly with the doors off. So it's like it's cool.
So I said I was looking at it. Here, look, I found this on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got the doors on. Like, we actually got to fly with the doors off. That was, that's further, probably more recent, but
yeah, this is like 8 years ago.
Yeah, we actually got to do, it was even cooler back then, but how cool is it to jump in a helicopter when you get a call and, fly to a fire, then rappel to a fire, then you're in the middle of nowhere. You might stay the night or 2 nights or something. One time, we did it a lot around here. I was in Arizona, so most of our here, but I've been up there where Palaniuk lives, and some, we'd end up in Montana or Idaho or something like that. And so I got to see some pretty cool country, and lots of it around here. So
I would imagine you also didn't you get to see a lot of freaked out animals? Because you're up around this fire and it's flushing all this stuff out. So not only do you have to deal with the fire, but don't you have like stampedes of bears like just roaring out of the woods going, holy cow, these things are on fire?
Yeah, you just kind of jogged my memory on a couple stories. I do remember being on a fire, and it was just me and one other guy. And you're dealing with like a 1/4 acre fire or 1 acre, or 10th acre. A lot of times when it's just 1 or 2 or 3 guys. And I do remember we were staying the night, and you got nothing. You're on the ground, and I remember a bear in grizzly country walking up to us, right close. And I was like, man, we weren't allowed to carry a gun, so
why not?
I do. Well, I don't know. I guess it was just a government thing, but
wait, they'll let you jump out of a helicopter, rappel down into a fire with no backup support and 3 guys in their 20s, but they won't let you carry a handgun.
Yeah. We couldn't carry guns. So I do remember, because that was my first time in grizzly country. I was like, we have black bears, but that was a little creepy. I had another one. We were right here, just west of my house where I live, up in the wilderness. Wilderness area, no motorized or mechanized access. So we rappelled into this place and Cactus Peak up in the Matazel Wilderness, and we had a mountain lion that circled, and we were in there for like 2 nights, and there was a mountain lion. We must have been too close to where it had a den with little, with little ones, and it would circle and kind of scream all night long, around you, and it'd be in a little different spot each time, and you realize it had gone a circle around you, and that was kind of a neat one. But
that's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that was definitely in the middle of nowhere.
I'm looking up Cactus Peak right now.
Yeah, go southwest of Payson, maybe 15 miles.
Here, I think this is it.
Matazel Wilderness. Well, it's MAZ.
That's kind of like there it is right there.
There you go.
Wow. You have all sorts of good cat stories.
Yeah. Some real good cat.
Didn't you get stuck in you told one at one of the writers events didn't you get stuck in one where you were like up in a tree and you had to have your dad come get you or something? Cause every time you came down, you got stalked, or you had one where you got like hardcore stalked and like you saw it like 3 or 4 times and you're like, dang, he's like trying to eat me.
I'm trying to remember that one.
There was one you were up in a tree for a long time.
Might be 2 or 3 stories combined.
Oh, what do they say? Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
I've had 3 bears kind of hold me in a tree for a while. But like I was sitting in a tree stand and 3 bears, around your tree and start coming up the tree kind of. I've had lions around me. My buddy, my good friend growing up, we were taking a girl elk hunting. One of our classmates is about a junior or senior in high school, and we had one try to stalk us right here on the mountain, just right behind me, and like 5 yards away. My buddy shot it as it jumped over us, and I was just on the other side of the tree, and I didn't see it because I was facing the other way, and he turned around, felt something. It was just like 5 feet behind him. Wow. Told her to shoot it. She couldn't shoot it. She was like shaking, and that was another one, and it jumped over and went off the cliff, and it was I don't know. I guess I'd have to think about which stories, but I got a lot of nice mountain lion bear experiences. There was a guy last week just west of the next town to the west of where I live here. Guy got killed. He was building a cabin, and black bear shows up out of nowhere, and this is pretty rare. Attacked him, killed him, started to eat him. His neighbor heard all the ruckus, came over, shot the bear, but it was too late. It actually had killed the guy. And this just happened. You could Google the story. It's national news, I think, probably. But guy Prescott, Arizona bear attack. So with 2 T's, Prescott. Guy just got killed like maybe a week ago, or less than 2 weeks.
Wow.
He was really kind of a wild story. It's like, I'm sitting here, I'm having coffee I live by a little trout stream. If you can see it down there, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just sitting here having, on this show, having coffee, and bear comes up over behind me and killed me. So yeah, I don't know.
It's highly uncommon.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bizarre deal, but the guy's sitting there basically having coffee on his deck that he was building a new cabin. Bear shows up out of nowhere, a big one, like a 300 or 350. I heard from the bear and lion hound guys, and killed him. So, you never know.
You just do the elk guide, and you don't do bear and lion hunt, do you?
No, I go on some. I've got some friends that are good lion guys and bear guys, so I go on a lot of them, or not a lot of them, but I go when, if I want to, when I want, and I mostly just elk hunt and deer hunt, mostly elk, but we have them right here. I mean, I've had tracks in my yard. I had a dog. I had a 3-legged dog get eaten inside my fence. So I'm like, there's not many things that come in your fence to eat a dog. So I'm
then leaves.
That was a lion. Yeah.
Wow.
So, we have them all around right here. That's just part of, you don't think about it. It's just part of living here. It's not like it's a real danger. It just happens rarely that somebody has some kind of thing happen like that guy in Prescott.
So when it comes to like adrenaline rushes, like morning of the tournament, like you have to have like an incredibly high tolerance for adrenaline. Like fishing has to be like Elite Series tournament, hooking big fish, running rough water has to just be mundane to you.
No. You bring up something. Your heart rate, when you're sight fishing and you see a fish start to respond, and that, you might be looking at an 8-10 pounder. When you see that that's about to happen, there's not many things that give you more adrenaline than that. That's an exciting thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's probably good to stay calm in bass fishing, but there's some guys that, Ike doesn't stay very calm.
But Ike's also not being stalked by mountain lions and jumping out of helicopters to fight fires and having his dog eaten by bears.
Well, I am far more comfortable here than I would be in a city in New Jersey. Like when I go there, I'm uncomfortable.
Me too.
I'm concerned that the world could go sideways and I'd be stuck in
Cliff, listen. Cliff, I'm uncomfortable in a Walmart between the hours of 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Like okay. I do all that at late night. Like I'd rather be there with the people of Walmart than with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I go out of my way to avoid the big cities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'd be comfortable here.
I've driven. I think don't you kind of drive when you go out to Meade from Oklahoma? Don't you kind of drive through your neck of the woods in Arizona?
You're close. You kind of go a couple hours north of me. You'd go through like Holbrook, Winslow, Flagstaff, and Flagstaff's kind of pretty, but the freeways, they're kind of ugly. I mean, there's some neat desert Southwest scenery, but if you go on I-40 or I-10 through Arizona, you don't see that much. But there's a big wedge in the middle of, a bunch of mountain ranges and timbered country that's kind of pretty, not what you think of when you think Arizona. But you weren't far north from me, but it's quite a bit different.
Because it was like, we went through one town and it was like snow.
Yeah.
And I was like,
probably Flagstaff or Williams
and it was like what, early October, like September, October timeframe.
Yeah. If it was, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like you saw it on the peaks coming back from the US Open or something.
No, yeah. Me and Hallman were on our way out to the US Open. And I was like, I think this is like kind of the Golden Rams neck of the woods. Cause there's like nothing around. And I kind of looked it up and and then it was like the temperature dropped and it was like a totally different world for like an hour or two.
Yeah. Yeah. You're up by Flagstaff going by the peaks.
You talk about the heart rate. I'm assuming when you talk about that, you're talking about that fish right there.
That'll do it.
Is that your kind of top bed fish of all time?
No, I've caught some big ones at home that were quite a bit bigger, but that's one of my biggest ones in a tournament. I've caught some 10s and 11s out west too, but I've caught 13s on my home lake sight fishing, and it's definitely something that gets you excited. That one, I wasn't even sure if it was a bass. I was just looking at a giant jawbone sticking out from underneath the grass, and I was like, holy smokes. And when it took the bait in, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a bass, because I wasn't sure if it was a bass or a mudfish or what. I could just see this big giant lower jaw sticking out from underneath the grass mat. And man, when I pitched in there and kind of snapped it up in front of it, it just inhaled it.
What did it end up going?
I think it was 10.14 or 1040 or something in my boat. And by the time that afternoon I got to weigh-ins, it was like a 999 or something.
Here's what I noticed on this. Watch how long you fight this fish before you touch your reel handle. Have you ever noticed this? Watch this. You're going to hook the fish at the 8-second mark. Look, no reel handle, still haven't reeled, still haven't touched your reel handle yet. You're fighting a 10-something, still have not touched it. 1, 2. You're at the 24-second mark. You fought the fish for 16 seconds without ever touching your reel handle.
I mean, it was barely underneath my feet. You know what I mean? Like, I literally was looking over the top of it when I saw it, because I just, all of a sudden, it was there. And so I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, you didn't know? Did you know that fish was there in practice?
No. Gosh.
You didn't? That was a spurt, like a holy cow. That's a megalodon.
Yeah. I just eased up in there to kind of look, and I looked underneath my feet. Like I said, there wasn't much to see, and I could see something that was just sticking out from underneath the grass, and it was just basically its mouth or its jaw, and so I set the hook, and I was straight over it, and then it went straight out, and I just saw how big it was, so I just kept the rod boat a step or two backwards, because it was, there was that other mat to my left it was going to go under, and it was basically just hold on and see what way this thing goes.
Yeah, that was cool.
But that was pretty exciting.
You good for one more quick segment? I do want to touch on the U.S. Open. You're a 3-time winner of the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
All 3 on Mead. We are, they are headed back to Mojave for the 2nd year. Kind of get your update on what you think is going on with Mead, if you're going to be there at Mojave, and kind of what the deal with the U.S. Open and the West Coast stuff is. So okay. Cliff Pirch talking, boy, we've been all over the map today, but it's all been interesting stuff. BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, you just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronic setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com.
Having confidence in your tackle while on the water is one of the main things to success, in my opinion. In the last couple of years with Denali, I've had just that. From anything from spinning rods, casting rods, tungsten products, even now to casting and spinning reels, I have the confidence to go out there and get the job done and know that all my equipment is going to handle it and do it just the way I want it. The thing about Denali is you've got great quality products at a great price point, so make sure you check them out.
Shoreline Boat and RV, dock rash, storm damage, collision repair, that deep scratch or gouge from trying to access that secret creek. Shoreline Boat and RV can get your prized possession back in mint condition and looking good on the water, fast. All repairs are done in-house, so they're able to get your boat or RV back to brand new, quickly. All Shoreline's work comes with a rock-solid warranty. Find out more at ShorelineBoatandRV.com, Kansas City, Austin, and Tulsa.
I'm the kind of guy that never leaves a house without a pocket knife, and Gamakatsu's come out with the EDC series of knives. EDC stands for Everyday Carry, so whether you're on the water or off, you can always have it with you. The best thing about it to me is that assisted open feature. With this D2 blade, you've got it right here at your fingertips, so if you can't find your scissors, you need to cut a knot, you need to cut your braid, you've always got it. Make sure you check it out. Never leave home without your Gamakatsu EDC knife.
Born in Japan, using technology, innovation, and precision, Sunline produces the widest selection of fishing lines at the most technologically advanced line factory in the world. Manufactured at the strictest tolerances to produce victories at the highest levels of tournament bass fishing. From household names like Christie, Swindle, and Cruz, to young guns like Cook, Logan, New, and Welcher, they all trust Sunline to take them to the top of the leaderboard. Choose the line that will give you the strength to guarantee your confidence. Sunline.
All righty. We're back. Cliff Pirch. Stories all across the board. Fighting fires, bear attacks, cougar stalks, 10-pound bass, all sorts of good stuff. And we started off with like the most finessey thing you could. 6-pound test, 8-pound test, drop shots, spinning rods. Shows you're a man of versatility. Nick says... He says, I could listen to Cliff's stories about the wilderness all morning. He has some crazy, exciting experiences for someone who seems so laid back. Have you always been laid back, or do you think you're laid back because a result of having been in a lot of hairy situations and knowing how to behave and handle yourself? So there's just not a lot that gets you really keyed up now.
Yeah, probably the older I get, the more laid back I am. I think probably so. I'm not that exciting of a person, but I'm around exciting stuff. But you know, if you put me in a room with Gerald Swindle and Greg Hackney,
that's BS.
I'm pretty much not there.
That's BS. Because I've been at the writers' conferences, Cliff. I've been there. You've commanded the room with your stories before in the evening. Everyone's drinking the beers and stuff, and you like loosen up a little. You start telling the stories. You've handled the room before. Well, and that includes with guys like Swindle and Crete and all those guys in the room. And they're going, "Oh my God, really? 5 feet away? You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah. Well, like I said, I have some exciting stuff around me, but I'm not that exciting of a person. I'm around neat stuff.
Weren't you also like a champion wrestler, and your dad's like a legendary wrestling coach and stuff?
Yeah, my dad is definitely a legendary wrestling coach, National Hall of Fame. Hey, where are you? You're right there
Oklahoma.
near the Yeah, you're right there near the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Where's that?
Man, it's somewhere right there by you. The high school wrestling,
Oh, it's at Oklahoma State University. It's in Stillwater.
Yeah.
That's literally exactly 1 hour away from me.
Okay.
Have you been there before?
I've been by it. My dad's probably been there. He's in it.
He's in it. Well, dude, the next time you guys are around Oklahoma,
listen, my dad. Now you want to have somebody that'll he can go right with Swindle. Like I get to a tournament, my dad comes to visit. He flies in at 11 o'clock at night, and I get up at 7 in the morning to go walk to the boat yard, and I meet 5 people that have already met him. Like, man, your dad. I'm like, he hasn't even been here in a daylight hour yet. So he's got that gift of real social. He's just more of a character than you can even imagine. So. My dad is somebody that's exciting. Like I said, I'm around exciting stuff.
Dennis.
Yep.
10 state titles.
Yeah, I think
5 state runner-ups, 23 divisional championships. Built the best program in the state of Arizona.
Yeah,
28 years.
Yeah, he has some serious credentials.
Is that who? I mean, was he into the hunting and the elk stuff and the wilderness and all that as well? Is that where you picked that up from?
Yeah. He took me when I could not even walk on his backpack, so that's where I learned a lot.
I think you're one of those guys who couldn't.
If we watch this creek right here, he'd probably just show up, just walking down the creek fishing today. He just shows up. He's just there. He'd probably just be walking by at some point today fishing.
Huh. I don't think you could live anywhere else. The more I talk to you, the more times I had you on, the more stories. You're like one of those guys, like you're not going to move to Gunnersville in the next month.
No, I hope not. It's not very smart for me to live out here. There's a lot more cost, a lot more distance, and a lot more travel, cost because of travel. And, but I just love coming home to here. I don't think I could do it. I got to have some separation, and just I got to have a little bit of my normal life.
Nick brings up an interesting point. What are your opinions, thoughts, beliefs, encounters with Bigfoot, Sasquatch? That's a dead serious question, Cliff. I'm not jerking your chain here. Like,
I know
there's got to be. I mean, you're in that neck of the woods.
Yeah. They have all kinds of stories, the Mogollon Monster and all that. The Bass Chaplain, Jay Kumar, James Nigmeyer.
Yeah.
Those guys, those are all Sasquatch guys. They really are into
You're
that.
not.
But I've seen enough things that I think I would probably know a little bit more about it. But we used to run trail cams all the time, and not too many Sasquatch pics, but a lot of neat animals, a lot of wild animals, but
no encounters.
Sasquatch pictures
that you want to publicly talk about. No Squatch encounters. No rock throwing, tree banging, things that no musty smell in the air as you pass through an area. Maybe some odd bedding, a footprint here and there.
Oh, a lot of weird stuff, or spooky things, but it's more likely to be a marijuana cartel, Mexican cartel, drug cartel back in the day or something than a Sasquatch.
I got you.
Yeah. That.
Oh, now we're going down this, but this is also realistic too. Do you think there's any jaguars in the area, like one or two that have roamed up from Mexico?
Oh yeah. That
really
they used to be more common. They've gotten less common and in recent years, but yeah, it used to be more common.
Like where you live, like there's been jaguars within 10 years, 10 miles of your house within the past 10 years.
I don't know if in the last 10 years, this far north, but they do have them. And my neighbor down on the corner, about a half mile down the road here, he used to be the cat guy. That he would track, the collars,
okay,
and track cats. Well, he was one of the guys that was involved in a jaguar got caught in a live trap, in a heat, a hot time, and died. So it was kind of a big uproar. Wasn't his fault, but he had to take the fall for it because it was he was the guy that had to go out and check these cats. So, and that was a big jaguar deal. They had a big thing about it in Tucson and everything, but they even had a nickname for the jaguar, but just unfortunate. Thing was really old, got dehydrated, and then somebody diagnosed it with something else and they put it down or something. It was
But you live in the neck of the woods where one of those things could be slinking around and no one would ever find it.
Yeah, it definitely, you could have one come by and certainly historically they did, maybe 50, 70, 80 years ago, but they're a little less common now.
What also is becoming less common is a U.S. Open on Lake Mead. How about that for a transition next year?
Yeah, hobby. That's good.
You fishing it this year? Someone asked me about it, like, because I've always wanted to fish it from the boater side. What's going on with Mead? Do you keep up with that? Like I said, you're kind of one of the spokespeople for the U.S. Open as a 3-time champ. And are you going to try to take that title from Bertrand this year?
I'd like to. I was right on his heels last year after 2 days, but I had a fall apart on the day 3. But I'd like to get that back. And I love Mojave. I haven't fished it near as much, but it's a fun lake. But it is a world different than Lake Mead. The only thing it has in similar is desert surroundings. Lake Mojave doesn't really fluctuate. Mojave and Havasu.
What was that?
We got a pterodactyl coming by or something.
What was that?
I don't know. It warned me if you see something coming over my shoulder.
Okay.
Where were we? Yeah, Lake Mojave.
Talking about Mojave.
Yeah, Lake Mojave's a lot more stable. It's got a lot better fish population and big ones, and it's a major smallmouth deal now. So takes mega weight. Not mega weight like St. Lawrence, but 20 pounds a day to win. I think it was probably, what did Josh have? He had
right around there. He had a couple big bag days and then hung on.
Yeah, finished with like 18 or something like that.
Yeah. Does it still have the U.S. Open feel at Mojave, or is it like kind of the a little bit different than it had been at Mead, just because you obviously develop a lot of nostalgia after 30 years?
Yeah, I miss the Lake Mead thing, and I miss the heat. I miss the hardness of July, September, August. September, it was really, really pretty good up there. But October gives it a little bit more like, more guys will show up. It's a little more comfortable. So I do miss the hot part of it. And I miss Lake Mead because it's just vast and unforgiving and treacherous and wide open. Lake Mojave is a whole different fishery altogether. You're definitely around more guys. You've got to deal with people a little bit more on Lake Mojave. It's not near as big. It's a big lake, but it's not near as big.
Will those areas on Mead, if I hope it jumps back up. I think they've been getting a little bit of water, but I followed on YouTube. There's a couple of guys that go down every single week, some outdoor guys. They go down every week. They put the boat in and they travel around and say, here's where it was. Here's where it is now. Here's the new stuff that's out of the water. But like those places like Overton and stuff that are, they don't exist right now. They're completely dry. Will those like bounce back? Like when it gets water in it, will it be like insanely good for a couple years after because of all the energy that's going to be in the lake?
Yeah. What's going on right now is, and it is coming up. So the lake's probably pretty healthy. I haven't seen it, but all the trash that grows up on the bank is going in the water. There's shallow cover. And, anytime the water's going up, that stuff that's up on the bank is going into the water. And we had a really good winter and a good spring, so a lot of things grew. So that's what's going on. Anytime the lake is low, any desert lake, while it's low, there's good things going on. All that junk's growing up on the bank. And so as soon as it gets flooded, everything, all the life kind of happens shallow. And it's getting good. It's getting good.
Steve Kennedy told me one time, green equals energy. The more green that's in the water, the more energy is dispersed in the water, and the more energy means the more nutrients that can be distributed to the fish. It's the same thing that happened with falcon, with Amistad. You get these anomalies where it's brutal. The green grows up. That's energy, that's cover. And then it's converted into this mega boom for the fish, the prey fish. And then the cycle kind of starts over again. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's going on. Like, we had such a good winter that a lot of Western fisheries are primed right now. My home lake, Roosevelt, it's getting ready to be nuts. It's been real healthy, but now it's got tons and tons and tons of flooded cover. The lake's full, absolutely full, and it's on a stretch where it's already healthy going into it. So we're going to see like Mexico, like fishing and bags and stuff like that, and probably falcon level. So.
Oh, really? Is that going to be the next one that everyone hears about and everyone starts coming to Roosevelt?
Well, it definitely will display some of the same characteristics, and it'll, any desert lake that floods like that. Lake Pleasant, when I first started fishing Lake Pleasant after, I didn't travel, during high school or anything, but after high school in college, I started traveling to tournaments around. Lake Pleasant flooded. The dam, they raised the dam. Lake Pleasant flooded. It took 32 to 45 pounds to win a team tournament on Lake Pleasant for the first couple of years after it raised. So it's just something that happens when desert lakes blow up.
Has Havasu ever freak showed like that? Has there ever been like a period of time where Havasu was 25 to 30?
Havasu, it may have been in the initial filling. A lot of people say, yeah, there was lots of 5-pounders. Now, Havasu, actually, when they started adding the artificial cover and all those fish houses and dropping, like palm tree branches and stuff like that, Havasu started to come back, in more recent years. And so Havasu really was kind of one of our worst fisheries, in the 90s, to where in the, early 2000s, it started to blow up and just become an excellent fishery because they added cover to it. But Havasu was a little different one altogether.
So why do the red ear get freakishly big in there, but the bass don't?
Well, I think, and the bass, you got to understand what it was before. So what's healthy there now is a world of difference.
Yeah, they're Colorado River fish, aren't they?
Yeah. So, the bass are heavy, thick, bigger, healthy. But I think it's got a lot to do with the mussels.
Okay.
It's got a lot to do with the mussels. And then, the added, artificial cover really brought that thing back to health.
Because they have 4 or 5 pound red ears, world record red ears. I mean, we're talking, it's nothing to catch a 3-pound red ear.
Yeah, they live there and they're known for it. They don't have a lot of Florida strain largemouth in there, and that's probably why you don't hear about 9-10 pounders. I caught a 9-pounder in a Bass Open there, and it was it was kind of a freak deal. And somebody thought, well, they probably dumped one over, brought one over the dam from Parker or down to Martinez or something, and dumped it live well full of them back in Havasu or something. But
to try to get some Floridas in there.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of Florida strain. They're more northern strain there, and so you don't get the super giant ones very often.
Let's whack this up. Top three plastics for the northern swing. Is it going to be the cliffhanger, the Somali, and the Somali smasher?
It's going to be the cliffhanger. It probably will be the quarantine craw on a ram head.
So a Ned.
And and the Somali will also be in my arsenal. But a lot of the cliffhanger. I love the cliffhanger and super confident with it. And I've caught them up north a lot on that type of bait, and it worked well last year. Now, I do have something I want to ask you. You were one of the first guys. See, I had the worm before anyone because we made it. We got some soft plastic from Big Bite and made it. But you got one of the first top 10s of anyone else that had the worm out there, right?
Yeah, on
you're at
Hartwell. Yeah.
I was like, hey, awesome.
You know what the crazy thing about that was? Here's the crazy thing about that. I was catching suspended fish on the bottom, but they were like 6 to 8 foot under the surface. And I would use a 1/2 ounce drop shot weight, and I couldn't catch them on a fluke or anything else, but I'd have that cliffhanger in the dirty, I don't remember the name. It looks like the dirty dirty morning dawn, polluted dawn.
Oh yeah.
In the polluted dawn color. And you take that 1/2 ounce weight and you'd shoot it past those spotted bass that were 6-7 foot under the surface. They'd go down to 22 foot and eat it off the bottom. Yeah. I couldn't get them on a jerk bait or twitching or anything, but man, you'd make a long 50-60 foot pitch and those spots would just go shoom straight down after it. As soon as you lift it up on it, they'd be swimming away with it. It was the dangest thing ever.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing that. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Top 10 on it.
And now it's like I'm not saying it's because of me. I'm just saying other guys figured it out. Everyone has figured out. Like, go look at Eufaula, Oklahoma. Like 7 of the top 10 in the Open had some sort of drop shot. Like, go find a tournament that doesn't have a drop shot in the top 10 now.
Yeah.
Think about the Elite Series. Cifuentes and, I mean, every, like, non-traditional ways, It's everyone throws it now.
That one was painful to see that one get one that way, because I caught some big ones in practice. I started fishing that way, and I could even see Cifuentes, and I caught 20 little ones, and I'm like, okay, I can sight fish. Everybody's gone to the bank. This is the dumbest thing on earth. What are you doing out here? Just go. And then he wins out there, like right out there on that. Holy smokes. I've been waiting for that to happen, and what do? I leave. So that was funny.
The Open on Wheeler, drop shot. Bugs Island, drop shot. Toledo Bend, drop shot. Eufaula, Alabama, drop shot. I mean, places you're not supposed to catch them on there.
Yeah. I've caught them on all those places drop shotting, but it was, I guess, before the whole world's doing it. It's probably a good time to start doing something else. But
put that ram tail trailer on there and go flip a half-ounce jig around some friggin' lay downs on the bank.
Get a flipping stick back in my hand and go. Yeah, that's I definitely won a lot more boats doing that back in the day than the spinning rod. But the spinning rod keeps you in the game. The drop shot has kept my career. You can't have big gaps of non-success. You have to stay in it. Gambling doesn't work for very long if you miss. So I had to conform.
We lost Cliff, but he's back.
Can you hear me?
Back. Yeah, I got you.
Had a phone call there.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, I've done the same thing. I've tried to do the same thing, and then I'm finally like, dude, I got to branch out, and I'm sucking now.
Well, you got to get out of that. You'll catch them again.
I know. That's what you were talking about there. There's the quarantine craw. That's a Drew Cook deal, right?
Yeah, I just cut the craw end off.
Right there, and then just use that as your Ned.
Yeah, it's a Sensation soft plastics still, and it's a perfect little Ned rig.
That's the pinchers off of a fighting frog.
Yep.
With the Ned style bait. Really good little bait. Really good on the ram head.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to let you go. Maybe you can figure out what was making that noise in the bushes behind you there.
Fun, wasn't it? It wasn't like I know the sounds that are out here, and I was like, man.
Hey, we'll go big screen. Let's see if we can find it.
That was a pterodactyl out there.
What was it? Man, you have some woods behind you.
Let's see. I don't know if you can see here if I get.
Yeah, is that the creek down there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was some sort of, maybe someone's pet parrot got out.
I don't know what that was. I don't think a pet parrot would last too long here, but it was something coming by.
All right, I'm going to let you go. I greatly appreciate the time. And like I said, you guys got a break. You got, a 4-week break before you guys head up north. So
yeah.
St. Clair, Champlain, St. Lawrence, July 27th, August 17th, August 24th.
Yep, we finish up north. I think it's all smallmouth from here on. Obviously, Champlain, mixes, but it's a whole different program from here on.
Appreciate it, Cliff.
All right, thanks, Matt. It's fun to be on with you.
See ya.
All right, see ya.
All right, that was the one and only Cliff Pirch. Like I said, yes, understated, very easygoing, but a lot of badass stories in his repertoire. So I could also say this morning is probably, I think it's the first time that I've done a BTL where I caught a bass before the show. Actually got out on the water this morning, got a little bit of a morning bite, and then got off the water at 7:45 to come in studio. So it's been a good morning already. Tomorrow, day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. I am headed to the post office right now to get the prize packs out, and then I also have to send in my passport to get it re-upped because it's been 10 years, so I can go down to Mexico and up to Canada and catch bass. So thank you, Mr. Pirch. This has been another edition of Bass Talk Live, day 4 tomorrow. We'll see everybody then. Later.